So the video ended with a shot of Triple H saying, "Sports is entertainment. Always has been, always will be." Then they cut back to the arena, and they shot off a bunch of pyro, and we had Triple H in the ring. I can't get away from this guy. He's everywhere. He's doing all the interviews. He did Kill Tony the other week. He was on McAfee's show. He was on Sports Center. He's in the opening video package. Now he's in the fucking ring. He was at Full Sail the other day on NXT. I can't get away from this guy. So now he's magically teleported into the ring. And he said that we are about to see the final form of sports and entertainment. The final form. Let me ask you a question. When this show is over tonight, did you feel like you had seen the final form of professional wrestling? That's pretty disappointing if that's the case. Final form. I was expecting more. He said, if tonight is your first night, let me welcome you to WWE. Let me welcome you to ESPN. Not for me. I'm on Netflix, of course. Let me welcome you to Wrestlepalooza. And guess what we got? We got more pyro. They're sparing no expense here for this ESPN launch. I think we got more pyro tonight than we had on any single WWE show not named WrestleMania all year. Michael Cole and Wade Barrett, they were on the call at ringside after Brock Lesnar murdered Corey Graves on SmackDown last night. Then they cut backstage and they showed a black SUV. Or maybe this was the other surprise that Triple H was referring to. Even though I could have sworn that they had announced some time ago that he would be there. Pat McAfee came out of the SUV. Of course he's going to be there. They're in Indianapolis. Probably just leave his house and walk to the building if he wanted to. So McAfee gets out of the SUV and he's making his way through the backstage area. He's on his way out to the ring. And Triple H, there he is again. This fucking guy, I swear to God, he's walking through the backstage area and Triple H sneaks up behind McAfee and puts his arm around him like they're best friends. And he's got this big cheesy smile on his face like, it's good to see you. I'm like, this fucking guy can't get away from him. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. He's plastering his face in as many places as he possibly can. So he's palling around with McAfee and hey, yeah. So McAfee makes his way out to the ring, and of course Michael Cole is ecstatic to see him because Michael Cole loves working with Pat McAfee. So we got a 3-man announce team: Cole, McAfee, and Barrett. Although only for part of the show. McAfee actually did not stay for, I think, the last 2 matches. He ducked out for. And they opened the show. Now we knew this coming in because they had already announced it. But they opened the show with
off is a direction you can fuck.
Yeah, it's a very appropriate super chat, actually. Perfect timing on that one. Jeremy Rose, thank you for the $22 off is the direction you can fuck. Yeah, I can say that about this match here. They opened the show with Brock Lesnar against John Cena. And as I said before, this was Brock Lesnar's first match in over 2 years. Lesnar walks out. This man is fucking ginormous. He is as big as I have ever seen him. In going even back to the days when he first broke in and he looked like just a genetic freak. When he showed up and his shoulders were like up here. What was that guy from He-Man? The man at arms or whatever. He's got like no neck. Ridiculous. He's even bigger than that. He really does look like a modern day Viking. Truly. So he comes down first. Then we get John Cena's music. And Cena comes out to the ring and he comes out with a whole group of kids. I'm like, holy shit, where did they come from? And they're all dressed up like John Cena. So they're wearing the same merch, the same gear that he's wearing. Same color shirt, the hats and everything. It had to be 24 kids, little kids, that come running out with him on stage. And I thought to myself, this is quite the choice here. You got Brock Lesnar standing in the ring. Could probably eat these kids and shit them out. And he's bringing little kids out with him. So, of course, thankfully, he didn't invite them down to the ring because that would have been very bad. So Cena comes down to the ring. And Alicia Taylor did the introduction for John Cena. But before she could do one for Brock Lesnar, we hear Ladies and gentlemen, and out from the darkness, from the crowd, emerges Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is going to do the introduction here for Brock Lesnar. He did a whole introduction, talked about him being an NCAA champion, blah, 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 blah. We know all of his accomplishments. And then he called him the last real ass kicker, since Cena is usually announced as the last real champion. Brock is the last real ass kicker. So I guess we know what Brock meant when he encountered Heyman backstage on SmackDown last night, and he said, "We should talk." Remember that? It was very brief. But evidently he wanted Heyman to, at the very least, just do the introduction for him tonight. Whether or not that relationship extends beyond tonight remains to be seen. It probably does. So he got the classic Heyman intro here, and there's just something that's right about that. You know, if you're going to bring Brock back, as dumb as it is, when you really think about it, right? Just think about it in kayfabe, okay? Paul Heyman betrayed this man, not once, but twice in his career. And Brock is okay with it. He's a very forgiving person. He's got a soft spot for Paul Heyman. But it just feels right to have them back together. If you got Heyman there and you got Brock there and they're not together, it's kind of weird. You know, they should always be together. And as far as what more they could do with a Lesnar-Heyman alliance, I talked about that last night also on the SmackDown stream and how that could potentially tie into War Games, which I may get into here in a little bit. So here we go, right? They're both in the ring. The bell rings. Lesnar immediately jumps Cena, sends him into the corner. He's giving him some shoulder tackles to the gut. Cena punches his way out of it. Lesnar sends him to the mat with one clothesline after another. Knocks this man down, gets back up, knocks him down again. Cena already has welts. He's like Sheamus, you know, because he doesn't have the same tan that he used to have, you know, and I know he had some skin cancer issues. I think he's the spokesman now for Neutrogena. So that, coupled with the fact that he's almost 50 and he probably just doesn't give a shit anymore. You know, he's a lot more pale than he used to be. So you can see the welts on his body a lot easier. He's got welts on his front. He's got welts on his back. The match barely started, and he already looks like he's been in a fight. And for his part, Brock was already sporting a lovely shade of purple on his face. And we were only 2 minutes into the match. So Lesnar picked him up for a British Bulldog-style power slam. Then he threw Cena out of the ring with a suplex. Cena climbed back in. Lesnar locked in the bear hug. The always exciting bear hug. Cena fought out of it, hoisted him up on his shoulders. Lesnar, though, got free, and he hit another clothesline. Lesnar took Cena back to Suplex City, gave him some Germans here, tossed him clear across the ring. Cena got back up, and he hit a series of shoulder tackles, none of which knocked him down. Finally, he hit, it was either the fourth or fifth one, and then Brock finally went down. And then he hit 3 attitude adjustments. And he covered Brock, and Lesnar kicked out at 2. So Cena went for the "you can't see me." Lesnar intercepted. He delivered an F5. And then he picked him back up, and he hit another F5. Then he hit a third F5. We were already in the finisher spam phase of the match. The match was barely 5 minutes old. So now we got up to 4 F5s. He didn't try to pin him, though. Cena staggered to his feet. Lesnar hit a 5th F5. Then he hit a 6th F5. And then he pinned John Cena. Brock Lesnar is your winner. After the match, Lesnar got back in the ring. He hit an F5 to the referee. Then he hit one more F5 on John Cena for good measure. Lesnar took his gloves off like he was going to just beat this man to a pulp, but instead he just took his gloves off and he left the ring and he went to the back. And they showed little kids in the crowd crying, little kids in Cena shirts, crying their little eyes out. Again, Cena is lucky that all those kids that came out with him for his entrance, that they sent them to the back, because I guarantee you, had they made their way down to the ring, if they were like little lumberjacks at ringside, Brock would have dropped them too. That would have been something. So Cena eventually staggered out of the ring, and made his way up the ramp into the back, or down the aisle, and to the back as the crowd chanted, "Thank you, Cena," which was at least less awkward than their Extreme Rules match in 2012, when even though Cena won, he took quite the ass kicking from Brock and was bloodied up by Brock. And then instead of selling the beating that he got, if you remember, he cut this weird promo when the match was over and then told everybody, "Get home safe." And then the reports were that Brock blew a gasket backstage because what the fuck are you doing? I remember that. So this was a little less awkward than that. So what did we have here? What did we have here? We had a rehash. We had not just a rehash, but we had an inferior one of what we saw at SummerSlam in 2014. That's what we got here in this match. They basically repeated some version of that, but it wasn't as good. Why you would do that, I don't know, but that's what they chose to do here. Soon, and I'm not even saying Cena losing bothered me. If you remember the predictions I did on the Sound Off last weekend, I picked Brock to win this match. Brock winning was not a surprise to me. Brock winning did not make me upset. I expected it. Although I expected something more competitive than what we got here. The match we got here, though, it really does feel like it's the match we deserved based on the build and the attention that they gave to this match coming into this show. Because they took the laziest possible route to get to this match. Because in their mind, we don't have to do anything beyond the bare minimum, or maybe we only have Brock for a certain number of appearances. And we want to keep these two apart as much as possible. And we're going to sell this match based on the name power, right? Or the star power. So people know John Cena. They know he's on his retirement tour. Brock just came back. He's a big name. We could just get by on that, right? Old time's sake. We're doing John Cena, Brock Lesnar. We'll run a couple of video packages and that'll be good enough, right? We only have to give them what we need to give them. That's really what we got. Not a terribly exciting way to build up to this match. And so then you see the match and it's like, well, you know what? They put about the same amount of effort into this fucking match as they did the build up to it in the first place. So nobody should really be surprised by what we got here. And then we had the lazy ass, finisher spam there at the end. And I know it's a trademark of Brock's matches and frankly, Cena's matches too. But you also look back at the matches Cena had just last month and he had some kick-ass matches. So we know Cena can do more than just, the finisher spam formula. But that's not what we got here. So they ended this in the most anticlimactic way possible. The best thing I could say about this match is that they got it out of the way early. Because if you sent this match out there in the main event, whoo boy, that would have been fucking terrible. As it is, I'm not saying this wasn't fucking terrible, but it would have been far more terrible had they actually closed the show with this. So I agree with that decision. But just the other thing I was thinking as I was watching this is just imagine, not that I have a lot of sympathy for these people, but just imagine if you're someone who put down 4 figures, if you drop 4 figures to sit ringside for this show and we're looking forward to seeing this match, or if this match was one of the reasons why you wanted to plunk down that amount of money for these tickets to go see this match on this show, how must you be feeling after this? How would those people be feeling when this match is over? I would love to know. I didn't drop that money, so I mean, I don't give a shit. But I was thinking about that, given the way ticket prices are trending these days. How must those people be feeling? What more is there to say? What more is there to say about this? If they're going to run this back again, if this was match 1 of a longer story that they're going to tell between John Cena and Brock Lesnar, and we don't know that. But if it is, it still doesn't make this match any better. It doesn't. And look, the match they had in 2014, I enjoyed it. It was different. It was shocking. It was different. Brock, again, he was on this tear after ending the streak. This was not that. That's why I said this was an inferior version of what they did, 11 years ago. But this retirement tour, it feels to me, has been very up and down to say the least. But they wasted so much time on this failed John Cena heel turn that it felt like, okay, they're finally redeeming it a little bit here. Some of the matches he's had recently, even the TV match with Sami Zayn, and trying to get him in the ring with different people, that when I see something like this, it's disappointing and it makes me shake my head because this man only has maybe 3 matches left. 4 at the most. And then he is done. He's retired. That's it. No more. And this is how you choose to waste one of those spots on this retirement tour to build to what? Another match between Brock Lesnar and John Cena that we can watch and be disappointed in? Now, one thing they may be doing, I mentioned War Games a little while ago. We are getting very close to War Games season at Survivor Series, right? So Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman now have forged this alliance again together. And no, that doesn't mean Brock Lesnar is part of the Vision. Brock Lesnar is not part of the Vision. He will never be part of the Vision. But that doesn't mean that he can't be loosely associated with Heyman in the Vision. You have to imagine that Seth's crew is going to be on the heel side in War Games. So you've got Rollins, you've got Braun Breaker, you've got Bronson Reed. And it would not at all surprise me if vis-a-vis Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar ends up being in War Games for the first time. What the fuck is that going to look like, by the way? If you put Brock Lesnar in a War Games match. That's still 4. I think they like to do it usually 5-on-5. I'm not sure who that 5th person would be. But it would be very easy to look on the opposite side, on the babyface side, and facing off with Seth and Brock and all of them, John Cena, who also has never been in a War Games match before. Roman Reigns, right, who's going to be seeking revenge on the Vision. CM Punk, who will be feuding with Seth Rollins until they are gray and in a fucking walker in the retirement home. You got Cena, Punk, and Roman could potentially all end up on the same team. You got the Usos. I mean, you could take one name out, plug the Usos in there. I would love it if they can work Jacob Fatu into this. Where the fuck is Jacob Fatu? You know, somebody had an idea on the stream last night that when I heard it, I said, man, I'm kind of pissed you even said it because now I'm going to be upset when they don't do it. But the idea was if Brock beats Cena or even Cena beats Brock, but then Brock destroys him even after the match, you send Jacob Fatu out there. Not that he has anything to do with Cena, but first of all, he's not doing anything at the moment anyway, but you send him out there to make the save. You send him out there to make the save. So now you're getting him involved in a top angle right now with some top names in the company, and you're establishing now there's a beef between Lesnar and Fatu. That's interesting, right? And it gets him into that mix. And of course, that's not what they did tonight, but I would love for him to maybe even be worked into that in some way, right? So you can come up with any combination of baby faces and heels in a War Games match. Point being, Cena and Lesnar are probably going to end up on opposite sides of the ring at some point, at least one more time. I don't know if we're going to get another singles match between them. I don't know if Brock's going to be his retirement opponent in December, and that's where he gets his win back. I don't have any interest in seeing this again. I didn't have any interest in seeing it tonight. So the idea of running it back again and having an extended program between these two, I mean, how many people are genuinely excited about that? I'm sure there are some. But with the limited number of matches he has left, I would love to see him work with other people. Even if it's people that he's never worked with before, whether like a Gunther or someone, right? Believe me, I'd love to see Cena and AJ Styles at it one more time, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But if the idea is this is just the first and we're going to run it back again, why? Who's asking for this? That's not an excuse for what we saw on this show. What we saw on this show sucked. Plain and simple. Call it like it is. There's no need to sugarcoat it.